We're halfway home here on NewsWire on SportsGrid, and thrilled to welcome in our next guest. We'll go from the association, the NBA, and a late season playoff push to the ice and the same theme in the NHL with Denny Bernstein, who is from SiriusXM NHL Radio, host of The Fourth Period. And good to see you here, Denny. Great to have you on the show. Fascinating last few days, few games in the NHL season that we have in front of us, obviously. You know, I want to start with Washington, I guess, going a little bit off the ice with Alex Ovechkin, who it
Sure.
just seems like this guy, you know, the future Hall of Famer, may never retire. And why should he if he's going out there and scoring goals at will the way that he does? He announced that he will decide over the summer about his future and whether or not he's going to play next season. Doesn't know if it's the end or not. I appreciate that he's not, it seems, at least going to do the farewell tour thing. He's either going to hang him up or he's not, but he's not necessarily going to tell people when that time is right, be it now, a year from now. What do you make of Ovechkin's path and what to expect?
Well, Adam, the legacy is cemented. He's the greatest goal scorer of all time. He set the record, for that. He passed Wayne Gretzky, a record that no one thought would ever be. So he's won a championship. He's won a Stanley Cup. People remember he's swimming in the pools and the fountains in Moscow with the Stanley Cup. There's really nothing more to play for except again and to have fun. As you mentioned, they're not in the playoffs. Washington traded his best friend on the team, Joel Carson. I think down the stretch, he's not playing with the joy he needs to play. I think, and this is just a pure guess, I think he's going to call it quits because there's really nothing more for him to go to. He can go play in the KHL in Russia for 1 year, then retire, get on a tour. I don't think players care about doing one last lap around the league. I think he's going to sit down with his family over the summer and think he's going to think to himself, there's nothing more to do playing this game, and walk away.
Well, exhilarating to watch him, obviously. Like you said, the legacy very much cemented. Now, teams are trying to cement their place here late in the regular season with the playoffs right around the corner. And in the Atlantic Division, the Buffalo Sabres, who are just having an incredible year, especially compared to expectation. This team, after a third period comeback win over the Rangers over at MSG, the Rays probably going to come down to the final regular season game next week with the Lightning, the Canadiens trailing by only a couple of points as well. We could look at the odds there. They are to win the Atlantic. You're looking at plus money across the board. Sabres plus 110, then the Lightning at plus 130, 5-1 on Montreal. If you were to invest, how does this unfold?
I really like Buffalo. I do. Now, I know they have no playoff experience because it's been, 15 years since it's been there, and since they've been to the postseason. But I just like the way they play. They have speed, they have skill, they have goaltending now. And that's the one thing that changed for this team. That's why it got so hot. They got two goaltenders who's won over 20 games in this league this year, which is a pretty good amount for an NHL fan. So I think they're a live team. I'd put a ticket on them to get to a Stanley Cup. I think it's that wide open. Yes, when you handicap the teams, Adam, on paper, Tampa Bay is the best, but they're a little older. They've been a little banged up. I think the Sabres are a live bet in any series, and to get to a Stanley Cup final. I will say this is likely to lose the first round of any series because they are going into uncharted territory with respect to their experience, other than one or two players they haven't played in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
One thing that I think is unique to hockey, you don't really see this in the NBA, are these late season coaching changes for teams that are just, either on the outside looking in, looking to make a push, even teams that look pretty cemented to be playoff teams that don't like the way they are playing. Now, it's not something we never see. Mike Malone, for instance, the new head coach at North Carolina for the basketball team, he was replaced late in the year by the Denver Nuggets right before the postseason last year. And generally speaking, they didn't win the championship, but it did work out well. I feel like we see this more regularly, though, in hockey, including a couple of times just in the last week. John Tortorella, who has had 1,000 tours of duty, I think, in the NHL, replacing Bruce Cassidy there in Vegas. And this team hasn't lost. The new voice at least has worked. 4 straight wins here for the Golden Knights. Now, I thought the Cassidy, first in Boston, quite frankly, but then in Vegas, kind of got a raw deal on both occasions. But you can't argue with the results, I suppose.
You can, but I wouldn't plan the parade yet in Vegas because they beat Vancouver, which is the league twice, and Calgary, which is out of it. They had a nice win against Edmonton. So let's see what happens. And the expectations are so high that if they win the last 5 games of the season, and 9-game winning streak going in and losing the first round, ownership won't be happy. It's as simple as that. They raise the expectations. And that's why, Adam, you see these late seasons coaching changes because the stakes are high, right? One team was in the playoffs. The Islanders were 2 points out of the playoffs. But when you watch the Islanders play, and that's why they went to Peter DeBoer over Patrick Waugh, like one game they were 35-6. And it's a clear indication the team is not playing hard for the coach anymore. So while it's still a rarity, Adam, that you do that, but you're right, it happens more in the NHL. Reasons why, because the Vegas Golden Knights, as good as this team are and how the expectations were coming into the season, no team has trailed more during games than the Vegas Golden Knights. They have a great team. They're a great come-from-behind team. I'm not sure that's going to work in the postseason because the game changes. So we'll see what Torts has done. But you have to respect Torts' track record. So that's why he's give this team a shock. And so far, it's worked.
One situation better than the other. This one versus Pete DeBoer getting a sixth head coaching opportunity over the last 2 decades.
Well, I think the Vegas opportunity is better because right now the Islanders are 3 points out with 4 games to play, and they have to climb over a couple of teams. They backed out. So basically they dropped Pete DeBoer in there and said, win us 4 straight games when we're not playing well. Now, Pete got tenure. He got multi-year deal, so he's not really necessarily worried about this season. I think that's the more difficult job as we spend the last week of the season, more so than Vegas, who clearly will be in the playoffs. They win 1 or 2 more games.
Connor McDavid, who, again, we talk about guys like Jokic, SGA, Wemby in the NBA. McDavid in the NHL, just one of those guys you could give the MVP to every single year with the way that he performs single-handedly. Damaged the San Jose Sharks playoff chances last night. One of the best games of his career, 5 points, 15th career hat trick, a 5-2 victory there for Edmonton. What is this guy, short of obviously hosting the Stanley Cup, which I know he's been a runner-up a couple of times now. Does this guy have anything left to achieve?
Other than winning the Stanley Cup, no. When we talk about the Hart Trophy, which is the MVP for the NHL, guys like Nikita Kucherov in Tampa, sure, last night Macklin Celebrini, and I love the juxtaposition last night, Adam. Macklin Celebrini scores the first goal of the game early against Edmonton. And then David said, Mac, you're going to be really good, but watch me. 5-point game, hat trick, right? So there's nothing more for him to set his personal legacy, but the big is winning a championship, right? So that's the question. Can he do that? Is this team good enough around him to win that? I don't think so. And I'll say one thing about voting for him for the MVP. He wasn't the favorite. But Edmonton 6-1-1 in their last 8 games. They haven't played any with Leon Draisaitl, who's probably the second best player in the league, and Zach Hyman, who scored 50 goals in this league. This has been a virtuoso Connor McDavid, and it might change some voters' minds about the MVP. So I wouldn't mind playing a ticket on Connor McDavid for MVP at this point in time because of the performance down the stretch.
Nearly every team in the NHL in action tonight, Denny. Where are you going to have your eyes? Obviously, some games mattering more than others at this.
Well, Pittsburgh can clinch a playoff spot, and they've been a miracle team. People thought they would be contending for the last place in the NHL. So I like them on the money line. And I like Vegas to get against the Flames on the money line because they're playing another team that is out of it. So I think those are two games I'm looking at, Pittsburgh and Vegas tonight.
All right. Again, Denny Bernstein over with SiriusXM NHL Radio. Really appreciate the time here and looking forward to what should be a really fun playoff push for these last few games for these various teams. But then obviously into the postseason, there's nothing better when it comes to playoff sports than the Stanley Cup playoffs. So should be an exhilarating couple of months ahead of us.
It's great being on SportsGrid, Adam. Thanks for the time. I appreciate it.